You are now listening to KRAN's podcast, Stories Without Limits. Thank you for tuning in. Hello and welcome. In today's episode, we will spotlight the incredible work being done to support our young people. I'm your host, Rishan, one of the media ambassador, and today we are joined by an extraordinary guest, Razia, the CEO of KRAN. Razia is here to give us an inside look at KRAN's work and what being part of this organization means to her as a CEO, and her hopes for the future, and we will also dive into the challenges KRAN face and what celebrate the most as a team. Razia, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rishan. It's wonderful to be here.
Thank you. So to start with, Razia, can you give us a general idea about KRAN? What is the mission and what makes it so impactful?
So KRAN has been in existence for just over 20 years. We have a very holistic, non-judgmental approach to the way in which we work with our young people. It's about empowering them, it's about co-producing with them, it's about offering a safe, positive space where they can develop trust and relationships with other people, and that we are always here for them, irrespective of what they're going through. And most recently, as part of our strategic planning, we're looking at how we can support young refugees and asylum seekers to go from just surviving to striving and thriving. And we're looking at how we can develop their capabilities and resilience so that they can grow and develop and be what they want to be despite all the challenges that they face.
Indeed, and from my experience, I would say, obviously, the first time that I came, I was introduced by KRAN, and I could say 100% is welcoming environment, and it's like my family to me, and it's great, really, that kind of sense of belonging for our young people, and that's the aim. And we support different young people from a different background, but along with that, how is it KRAN? What's the main thing that helped KRAN to provide that safe space? Is it the young people? How is it for you?
It's definitely the dedicated staff team. We've got an amazing team of people, not just the staff and the young people who have lived experience and who are also staff members, but they're really committed and dedicated, and they go above and beyond to make sure that we offer a space that works for young people. We have a committed group of trustees who are volunteers who have lots of experience and knowledge and understanding and skill sets to help to govern and set the direction and pace of the organisation. Sure. But then also our mentors.
Indeed.
Who are invaluable.
Absolutely.
In offering that face-to-face interaction and support for our young people, and to make us aware of the issues and challenges the young people might be facing and when we need to get involved and support them.
Absolutely agree, and especially thanks to our volunteers for KRAN who provide that support. So moving forward, let's dive into more for you. What KRAN is being as a CEO for KRAN from a personally and professionally aspect. What does that makes you feel in both sides?
Yeah. So I think KRAN fulfills some of my kind of personal goals and ambitions or missions around social justice and causes, because it's a brilliant cause to be part of and to make a difference on. For me also, it's really important to try and shift that discourse of policy and practice and make sure that that lived experience voice is amplified of young people in that wider discourse and narrative to change it. And I love the fact that KRAN is so authentic and has that flexibility and adaptability to be able to meet different challenges and look for creative solutions for change.
Sure.
I've been with the organisation for about 8 years now, so that's the longest I've ever been.
Years.
It's a long time, yeah, and it's the longest I've ever been with an organisation. So I'm obviously really committed, and I love it. No, there's no 1 day or 2 days are the same, and we work at all the different levels. And we are able to meet and get to know so many diverse young people who are just inspirations to us all on a daily basis.
So you would say the spark of KRAN is still there?
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
And what is that, the main things for you as a CEO, keep you going?
Yeah, so for me it is those stories and it is those young people who, despite everything, manage to actually succeed.
Absolutely.
And success doesn't have to be like you, Rishan, becoming a nurse and getting your citizenship. It can be just being able to get out of bed, even though you've gone through so much trauma, and being able to, even though you've got kicked out of college or whatever's happened to you, still being able to hold your head up high and still being able to do something to contribute towards society using the gifts and talents that you have.
Yes, and I definitely agree with that. Like you mentioned, like being like as a nurse, but again, being with KRAN to see our young people who have nothing, like it's starting from scratch and to build themselves
very much
with a place that there is no like pretty much like different, completely different. It's just keep you going to think how they can do it that way, and then just provide
and
that
still
support.
have hope and still be inspired to try and make a go of it, even with all those systems and structures and mechanisms that are in the way for them to be able to flourish. They have to navigate all of that,
of course,
and understand it all, and try and find a way through it all to be what they want to be.
Indeed.
You know?
So you mentioned, as we're talking, like this is kind of some of the challenges that's being faced by KRAN. And so from your perspective, what is the biggest obstacle that KRAN face into its work? For example, it could be the system, could be different thing. I can know so much things, but I would love to hear from you.
So, I mean, KRAN organisationally, as any charity, especially currently with the cost of living crisis, and it being so competitive, it's always about the finances and making sure we've got the cash flow and the funding to keep us going. And we're just so grateful to all those organisations and trusts and people who give donations, who believe in what we're doing and want to support what we do. But there's also a capacity issue because the number and the type of requests we have to respond to is growing. And so there's a capacity issue about how we don't want to make choices ever. We never want to turn anyone away. We always want to be able to do something for someone, even if we don't have the skills and expertise to be able to do that. We want to know somebody who can do that for them and give them something as a pathway. So that's really, really challenging at the moment. And then, the uncertainty about we don't even know what the current government is planning and what its attitude is going to be, what are the options, what's the scope. So it's very difficult then to reassure people, young people, about, you know, what the options might be going forward. So there's expanding and changing needs, and we may well start exploring young adults, not just those who are young separated individuals who come into KCC care. And I think we need to have a clearer picture from the government about what their intention is for our young people, so that we can give them that clarity and give them that reassurance that these are the options that you have, and you know, this is the pathway through this process.
Indeed. And I guess like to go back to the when I came to the UK and that kind of assurance of like what's going to happen, because waiting for your asylum process to be done, it kind of blocks so much things for you, education, housing. And we do see our young people who comes to here that we want to provide the support, but then again, it's like out of hand, like we can't do anything. And it's sad to see that a young person that is struggling and you want just to support, but then it's all about like systematic things that it needs to be done.
And the hardest thing for any person is to understand that young person is going through something. Understand that what that person is going through isn't a social injustice, but there is nothing that can be done because it's this failure of the systems and the processes. And so we have to work on the level of the individual to support them, but we also have to work on that level of changing policy, changing practice, and influencing the thinking and the discourses around these vulnerable young people, so that the next group and cohort who come through the system don't have to face the same challenges again.
Indeed. And taking from my experience, we always tell the young people, like, this is happening, just make sure that you know what's your right, your responsibility, and moving forward is education aspect, housing or anything. So it's a holistic approach basically that we need to like give it to our young people. So moving to the positive side, like which is what moments you celebrate the most at KRAN, for example? Like I know a lot of you to mention, but I would love to hear from you.
Yeah, sure. So what's great about when Nigel first started, who you've done a podcast with already,
Yes,
is within the first week, he sent me an email saying, "Oh, I just heard this great quote," and he shared it with me
He always
about being so excited. And I said, "Oh, why don't you just send that out to all the staff on a weekly basis,
We do have lots of emails from Nigel. We always do.
But I mean, it's just a lovely, it is those moments, So when a young person has been really troubled for weeks, and then suddenly something happens, they come to a class or something happens with all of us, and then they just light up and start becoming much more engaged and much more active, and being involved, and start feeling that there's hope and that it's worth being and doing things and engaging with KRAN. For me, that's brilliant. That's the magic that happens at KRAN, if you like. And I think, when, for example, our advocacy and support team, they work with a really heavy caseload of individuals who've gone through so much, and we have to untangle all the complexity of the issues and the crisis that they're in, and then help unravel all of that, help them understand and empower them to make informed decisions, and so that they can move forward. And it's a real struggle sometimes, like walking through treacle, but then suddenly something clicks and we're able to advocate and support them into something which is much more stable for them. And that is always a breakthrough. So they go from just striving, and just trying to cope with life, to actually being able to survive and then potentially move forward into thriving as well. And I suppose the other one would be when young people have left KRAN, moved on, gone on to college and all the rest of it, and then they just come back all excited and pop in and say, "Oh, I'm going to show off my car," or "Show off I've got a job as a security guard," or "Show off my motorbike," or, that is lovely. I love those. And sharing their achievements and what they've achieved.
Like Daniel as well, like when he finished university.
Yeah, exactly. And we try and showcase that as well to be an inspiration for others, And I suppose the last one for me is our youth ambassadors and media ambassadors.
Thank you.
Amazing showcases of, what is possible, and you do us so proud.
Thank you.
Every single week when you go out there and you say something and you do something with the wider world, Brilliant.
I guess it's like keep us more like, for my personal experience is like, is the work KRAN, I believe it was the work KRAN do, like it's for our young people, and to have that kind of support and to give it back to another young person in that cycle to continue is amazing. And I wish, I did say it before, even if I've got children, I would bring them back to KRAN again, which is a really safe space for me. It's really like a family rather than just a job title, I think.
Definitely.
So looking ahead, what's your plans and hopes for KRAN's future now that we are nearly towards the end of the year? What we celebrate, we spoke about what we celebrate, what's the challenge, but again, what we hope for the future. There was always something that, in terms of, it could be, I don't know, young people or like the system again. There's a lot of things that we do hope as an organization, but also like for our young people, like that we want the best
for them
all the time.
I think sort of strategically, if you like, in relation to our future, like I said, I mentioned we're reviewing our strategic plan at the moment. We're developing a 3-year plan, and the lesson that we've learned from our last strategic plan, which was 5 years long, is so much can change. We had COVID, we had
that's why we started
legislation, changes in legislation, which meant you couldn't even claim refugee status. So many things changed over those 5 years that we couldn't have known about or anticipated. So we're using a slightly different approach. So rather than a map of how we want to get and where we want to get to in 3 years' time, we're using a compass approach, and we're looking at key areas of strategic direction. So as I mentioned before, one of our challenges is income and fundraising. So we want to try and diversify our fundraising and our income streams and the way in which we have resources, whether it's in kind or through sponsorship or through corporate sponsorship or through, payroll giving or fundraisers or whatever that might be. But we also need to strengthen those community networks and partnerships and try and focus on collaborating and working collectively with other organisations to deliver change in Kent. And so we've started to do that much more proactively rather than reactively to that. And I think our service delivery model has to be much more agile and adaptable and flexible to meet the changing needs of the young people that we work with. Because we're only as effective as the successes and the impact we have with the young people that we work with. And that changes all the time, so we need to do that. And in order to do that, we have to have a robust way of learning from what we're doing and how that's working, whether it's kind of feedback mechanisms and loops for our young people, collecting the right kind of data in the right kind of way, having the right evidence to prove that we're making an impact and making a difference. And I suppose exploring what works, what doesn't work. And if we are moving into a new area where we're not just working with young refugees and asylum seekers who are looked after children, then we need to explore that space and see how we can collaborate with others, but how we can make a real difference in that space with other people, but not lose the essence and the core of who and what we are, that authentic voice and that holistic approach and that way of working that brings everyone together as a family.
Of course. And that's bring me like back to the way that when we had like a meeting, that there's always a space for reflection, and we always do that with all the team. And then because of the main, as you said, the main things for us is the heart of the KRAN, which is the young people.
Definitely.
But there's always like, if there is a change and the policy is changed, everything, the income is changing, and we always like learning and reflecting back. So thank you so much, Razia, for sharing your insight
Rishan.
and passion with us today.
Thank you.
It's really amazing to see like what KRAN is for you, but also what KRAN is like as an organization. What's the aim and the mission for our young people, for other people to see that, but also the collaboration and support, like volunteer that we have. So thank you so much for coming today and give us that kind of opportunity. So for our listeners, if you would like to learn more about KRAN and support their work, visit our website www.kran.org. .uk. As always, thank you for tuning in into our podcast, Stories Without Limit, and make sure to subscribe and join us the next time for more inspiring stories. Thank you so much.